Hello everybody and welcome to another week of Frenzy Extra. I'm Andy Lacombe. We're coming to you from Fitton Field here on the campus of the College of the Holy Cross. The Crusaders taking on Georgetown, their final home game of the regular season, and we'll see it right here on Charter TV3. More on that in just a little bit. Let's go to the high school ranks where a lot was sorted out in week 7 when it comes to the playoffs. Believe it or not, the last week of the regular season is coming up here in week 8. And let's take a look at the power ratings and where everybody stands in the playoff race going into the final week. Starting Division 3, St. John's, a clear favorite, a clear number 1 in Division 3. They're in, so is Shrewsbury, so is Shepherd Hill, so is Doherty. That is pretty much set, although there may be something shifting on who has the home game in that 2-3 matchup, depending on how things go in the final week of the regular season. In Division 4, Neshoba, the top dogs. Grafton is there, they are in, Marlboro's in, a little bit of work to be done maybe for Groton Dunstable and Fitchburg in the final week. Division 5, Nipmuc leads the way, they're in, Northridge, Oakmont, and Auburn in that top 4 spot, and it should stay that way going into the playoffs. Littleton leads Division 6, St. Peter Marion is certainly in, there's some work perhaps, Millbury, Uxbridge could battle, could maybe make some noise. Maynard holding on to the final spot going into week number 8. In Division 7, BBT, Archie's boys leading the way in the division. The Fighting Beavers looking good. Leicester, West Boylston, and Assabet. Now Oxford's undefeated. They probably have to win, no doubt, against Leicester in week 8 to earn a playoff spot. And now in Division 8, St. Bernard's leads the way. Bartlett is on the outside looking in going into the final regular season game, but if they beat Tantascwa, they might get a needed bump. Valley Tech, Neshoba Valley Tech that is in the mix as well in the division. Well, leagues may not really exist anymore with the new setup in terms of the divisions and way high school football is going right now, but for Doherty High School, who just got a big win over North last week, the inter-high still a very big deal, getting supremacy in the city, still very much high on the priority list for the Highlanders.
Living in the city my whole life, that's a huge pride point for me, and I'm sure it is for the rest of the team too. So we'd definitely be very proud to have that title.
It would be great for us because we have a good team, and that would just put a name on the 2017 Highlanders.
We know what it takes to win, and each and every day we just try our best.
We're all fighting for the inter-high title, which is all people may not see it as a big deal. For us, it's a very big deal. You know, that title, getting it each year. We hope to contribute with a Doherty legacy of winning it year after year, and we just want to do the same this year.
Coach McKay talks about how the inter-high is one of the most important things you can win out, and we just try our best to actually do that for previous Doherty teams because we know how big it was back in the day to win the inter-high, and it is now too.
Over at Shepherd Hill, the Rams boast more than a dozen players right now playing at the next level, some of them at the very highest level, Division I college football. It's a good resource for the Shepherd Hill program because a lot of these guys come back. You can see them on the sidelines supporting their teams during games, and it also gives the players on the current team something to shoot for. They're very proud of the success they've had and the success that these young men are having at the next level.
It just gives us a tremendous source of pride. Individually, every one of those guys are just great kids that have worked incredibly hard, and you couldn't have asked any more of them as students and as athletes, and we're just really, really proud. You know, on top of those guys, we have 14 total guys playing college right now. So we've got some guys at the local college ranks, and then obviously at the highest level with BC and Michigan and Central Connecticut and UConn. It just gives us a great sense of pride, and it kind of reaffirms that what we're doing is the right way to do things, and that's just coaching the kids hard every day and giving them tough love, but giving them an opportunity to succeed. And they've set a great example for those that are going to come behind them.
Well, we looked at them a couple of weeks back. The Oxford Pirates, 7-0 going into their final regular season game. It's been a resurgence of football in the proud town of Oxford. The Pirates have grown their program, they've grown their numbers, and they're on the verge of trying to get into the playoffs. They still have some work to do, but they've come a long way, as our Brenna Wilson reports.
We're not used to it. After the past 2 years of only winning one game, it's been a pretty fantastic season so far.
After only winning a handful of games in the previous 5 years combined, the Oxford Pirates are 7-0.
It's been awesome, honestly. We fought a lot harder this year. It's just been amazing. We're family now.
It's been good. We've been getting our butts kicked for the past few years, so it's nice to actually win.
Oxford's offense is dominant, scoring almost 4 times as many points as they give up. Both Coach Jeff Clarkson and the team attribute the success to time spent in the weight room in the preseason.
More intense and a lot more kids showed up. Before this year, we usually had 3 or 4 kids show up to off-season.
Every day during the summer in the weight room, every single day, we went up to the field right after. We ran, and every single one of us worked.
The team has almost twice as many players on the roster as it did a year ago. The community has rallied around the Pirates. Hundreds of fans attend the games, whether home in Oxford or on the road.
Everyone's energetic. Everyone's, ready to watch us play and happy for us.
Teachers come up to us every day telling us good game, it's awesome. We have people that we don't even know coming up to us and congratulating us.
It's like a different vibe. Last year they weren't really with us, but now the whole entire town's here, and they're really liking what's going on.
I think everything is just going forward this year. Everything, like I said, from the school to the coaching to the parents, it's been really good. Even the crowds of the game have been great. It's fantastic. Everything's just going in our direction right now, and we hope to continue in that direction.
The Pirates will be challenged this week as they take on Leicester. But no matter the outcome, the season is a step in the right direction for the program.
It's awesome. It's been so much fun between team dinners, practices, and games. And then just hang out with, the whole football team. It's awesome.
It's pretty good, honestly. And we feel good going into every game, no matter who we play. And I feel like we can contend with anyone.
Brenna Wilson, the Frenzy Extra.
Thanks, Brenna. Here are the key games in Week 8 we will be watching, a lot of them with either playoff implications or seeding implications going forward. Oxford and Leicester, the Pirates need it to jump into the playoff race, you would think, by the math. Neshoba and Shrewsbury could do a little bit of damage in terms for Shrewsbury on whether they host a game in the playoffs or whether they go on the road in Week 1. Neshoba pretty much locked in there at number 1. Auburn and Millbury, it's a big one for the Woolies and the Rockets going in to the playoffs. Millbury needs it to have a chance. Bartlett needs a win in Week 8 over Tantascwa to have a shot at a playoff spot. And Grafton, they're in. They take on Northridge, and it was always a good rivalry game, a good mixing and matching of styles in that one. These games and so many more on the Friday Night Football Frenzy coming your way Friday night at 10:25 right here on Charter TV3. Time for a quick break. When we come back, we go inside the studio. You already heard the numbers. Kevin Shea and Jim Wilson will break it all down for you going into the final week of the regular season. Stay with us.
Bay State Savings Bank brings you Kasasa. What's Kasasa? It's a catchy word for earning cash that just might make you want to dance. Get paid for doing simple things you do anyway. That's free Kasasa checking.
Ask for Kasasa by name at Bay State Savings Bank, proud sponsor of the Friday Night Football Frenzy.
Welcome back, everyone. Kevin Shea, Jim Wilson, Frenzy Extra. We're here to break down a little bit about what happened last week, but looking ahead now, final week of the regular season, and then it is playoff time, Willie. So this is the good time of the year. It's the nitty-gritty, and this is where I know you get a lot of calls from coaches.
When I bring the laptop out,
trying to figure out the power rankings.
It's game time right now.
Well, what about this team? This team didn't play the schedule we played.
If we beat this team and this team beats this team 50 miles away, what do we get for the points? Where we ended up, and which is, spoiler report, I have no idea. I am a reporter because I hate math, and here's my life right now.
You've been thrust into the Albert Einstein role of trying to break it down and coming up with theories, the theory behind, mathematical theory behind the power rankings. All right, looking back to last week, the one game I want to look, well, maybe two, maybe the Leicester-Millbury two, but Neshoba-Wachusett is the one game. Neshoba beats Wachusett 9-0 last week. The game was scoreless at the half. Huge win for Neshoba because it wasn't going to affect whether or not they were going to make the playoffs. It knocked Wachusett out of the playoffs pretty much effectively, but it showed just how good this Neshoba team is because this is a really good and tough and physical Wachusett team.
Yeah, we've been saying it all year. Neshoba, every time they get challenged, they rise up. Marlboro and then Wachusett. They've been tested. They play a good schedule. They're just great coaching staff.
Yes.
Talented players. They have Breeze Hill and with the Humes of the world. They're all they're doing the job for them. They have a solid line. typical of the Neshoba team. It's what they have every year. That's doing the job for them again. And another big test for them this weekend against Shrewsbury. We'll talk about that one later.
Yeah.
But I mean, they had a chance where Wachusett had everything on the line. Wachusett needed this win. They needed to beat a good team this year to sort of get that leapfrog Doherty in the power ranking polls, seal up that spot in Neshoba. The defense shut them out, get a safety on them. That was a great, impressive win for Neshoba, who didn't. They could have just said, look, we'll play for the play. We're in the playoffs.
Right.
Let's rest our guys up. Didn't have to do it. They got the win. That's a huge feather in their cap.
Yeah, it is. Now, it brings up a great point, though. So now this is the final week of the regular season. If you're a team, and so many of them, we're going to go through, Jim and I will go through the power rankings, we'll go through each division. But in almost every division, they're set, or at least the top three are set. So it brings up the big question. If you're a team that's already in, and it doesn't affect your ranking, do you rest guys? If guys are nicked up, do you rest them? Do you only play the starters for the first half? Is this a preseason game, or is this a regular season game for a team like St. John's, a team like Neshoba, Grafton? You're not going to move up and down. Shrewsbury is another one. You're not going to move up and down in the rankings no matter what happens if you win, lose, or tie this weekend. So how do you treat the games?
That's what comes. It's almost like the question with the new players on Thanksgiving.
Right.
I think a lot of teams, they want to win just because that's the mentality, and you want to be strong going into the playoffs. We talked earlier about how Doherty has been all season, but they've had to sort of take the stick back with the inter-high schedule.
Right.
And a guy like Vassar, he's been playing a quarter, 2 quarters. They pull him at third quarter because they're up by 40 points on some of these games. So you want, especially going into next week, I think you want to be clicking on all cylinders. I think going into the third quarter, fourth quarter, you're up by 3 touchdowns, or the game's getting away from you either way. Then you might want to take a step back. But I think you want to play. You don't want to have a bye going into the playoffs, I think.
Now, we've heard that, though, in the past from coaches. You and I have heard coaches say, I don't care about the playoffs. I don't want, on my Thanksgiving Day game, I don't want to hear for the rest of the year that my rival beat me on Thanksgiving. Then when it came time, it was their time in the playoffs, and they're looking at Gillette. They rest the starters, and that's what we've seen that from several teams.
Because
it's easy to say, okay, this is what I'll do. We're playing Thanksgiving. We're playing to win no matter what. And then all of a sudden, everyone thinks, okay, well, I don't know. And, Drew Smiley got hurt on Thanksgiving, and that affected St. John's down the road. And more recently, we've seen teams say, oh, nope, you know what? It's not worth it. The ultimate goal is to go to Gillette, so we're going to rest the starters. So that's what I'm interested to see how it plays out. Because the ultimate goal is to go to Gillette, not to go undefeated through 7 weeks or 8 weeks. Because no matter what happens, you're in the playoffs next week for these top teams. So
that's what it comes down to. I mean, look at a team like Shepherd Hill's been banged up, and especially in their backfield. Do they, did they go into this weekend and say, they play in Groton Dunstable, a team that needs to sort of get a couple points to stay. I think they're in, but they have to win. If they lose, they have to hope that. I don't think Fitchburg can jump over them. But Westboro's hanging out there on the sidelines.
Right.
They could jump in if they beat Wachusett. You never know. We'll get to that stuff later.
Right.
But I mean, at the same point. What do you do with Shepherd Hill? You got 2 running backs. You sort of want to get back into health and guide them in. But again, you don't want to have all of a sudden they tweak that injury that's kept them out the last couple weeks.
And so if I'm Shepherd Hill, I'm resting the guys.
Yeah,
I'm resting the guys because this week's not important to you. What's important to you is 2 weeks from now, and that's a team that has, as you mentioned, they're banged up in the backfield. Some of the linemen have been dinged up through the season. So. It's interesting to see what happens here.
I can see it both ways. That's what exactly what you just said. I mean, because how many stories do you read?
The ultimate goal is still to go to Gillette. So if that's the ultimate goal, then why are you playing starters into the third and fourth quarter? And your running back rolls an ankle, and or God forbid, breaks something, sprains something, twists something where he can't play in 2 weeks. And now all of a sudden, all you're hearing is parents chirping.
Well, that's the thing.
Other
keep that
kids
noise
chirping,
off.
and in your own mind, I'm sure you're second guessing yourself. Well, if I just not played him, and he was fresh and ready to go in 2 weeks, I wouldn't even be dealing with it.
But they could do that in practice, too.
You're right.
You could do an Oklahoma drill, catch an ankle wrong, and next thing you know.
And it's easy for us to say because we don't have to deal with this in the offseason.
We just get the emails.
Saying, I would have rested that kid, and this is why you shouldn't be coaching. All right, Division 3. St. John's is in, Shrewsbury's in, Shepherd Hill's in, Doherty is in.
They need to
win. Do they have to win, though? They host North Middlesex.
I think they have. If they have, it's just a mathematical thing. They have to beat North Middlesex, and then Wachusett, I think they have 6 more. They're 105.8. I think Wachusett 91. So it's gonna be tough.
So they need
a lot of help.
Win, they're in.
But that's what I say. Just win and don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about something that happens, and in the third game you're not thinking about because they played a non-traditional, a non-exclusive opponent, and they get the 3 points of that win, and then you get into trouble. That's where you get the headache from.
Well, and you know, you and I have talked about this. Calorie is now in at quarterback, the freshman. He's doing a great job running this. One veteran Central Mass sports fan told me that he reminds him a lot of Johnny Manziel as a player at Texas A&M. Just as a player, not as a person, not any of the other stuff, but just if you look at what Manziel did at Texas A&M when he played there. He can make plays with his feet. He can make plays with his arm. No play is ever done while Calorie has the ball in his hands. He's that poised as a freshman. He runs hard. He finishes his runs. Last week they had a big win, inter-high win. He was running kids over at the end of plays. I was impressed with Calorie. And he's just a freshman.
Right.
This is a kid that in 3 years when he's a senior, his dad's really tall. You could be looking at a kid who's 6'4", 6'5", that Division I colleges are all descending upon Worcester to watch when he's a senior because he's that kind of talent now as a freshman. Just imagine what he's going to be like. And then you mentioned Tejon Vassar, and really, he's stirring it up already. I love it. And he's got Brunel. He's got great, great receivers. Brunel has just great sure hands. What I love is the concentration.
Right.
He'll go into the teeth of the defense. He'll go up for a ball knowing that the ribs may be exposed. He may be exposed to a big hit, but he's a money player. And that's what they have on that Doherty team. They have a lot of money players that come up in big situations.
Vassar's one of the best running backs you're going to see. Terry Wallace, I mean, early in the season, he told me about how Calorie and how good he looks as a freshman. So it's no surprise he's getting a lot of snaps now.
Right.
You look at his completion percentage. He's missed, I think only about like 10, 15 of his balls have hit the dirt.
Right.
And not fallen.
And how many of those hit
well, that's the thing. I don't want to call them receivers.
Or hit the chest of the teammates. I mean, unforced errors. He very rarely is he off target.
And I'm going to venture a guess that Doherty's heard about the whole, do you deserve to be there playing the inter-high schedule? You lost to Wachusett. Wachusett could be sitting on the sidelines playing a makeup game or playing a non-playoff game in a couple weeks. And they feel they should be there. But Doherty they won the games they should have. And they sort of won out toward, they had the points, and Wachusett couldn't get a big win to propel them over. So I'm sure they want to show, because right now they'd be playing St. John's. If the playoffs are today, that's a huge undertaking for them, and they want to show people they belong there.
Yeah, and it will be a huge game. When you look at St. John's too, and everyone likes to say, well, they got 50,000 boys there at the school, and there's 3 zip codes with the school. Their opponent's rank was the highest of any team of all the divisions. So when you look at it, they're playing the toughest schedule.
Oh, yeah.
So they had the best record, and they had the best team in the area, but they also played the toughest schedule in Central Mass as well. So St. John, Shrewsbury, Shepherd Hill, Doherty, as we mentioned, Doherty, Windsor, and that's Division III. Now Division IV. Neshoba, awesome team, phenomenal team. Neshoba's the top team. Grafton's number 2, Marlboro 3, Groton Dunstable 4. This, if it stays this sets up. The Grafton-Marlboro game would be huge. These two teams didn't play each other in the regular season.
Just because I like how the team I like this fantasy type of what do these two teams play.
Yeah.
I like that the Swickle versus Midwatch. Marlboro's one of those teams that's always under the radar. They're tough as nails.
Yes.
They gave Neshoba all they can handle a couple weeks ago. They have a great solid team. When everybody thought they'd be rebuilding, they're right back into the mix. Grafton, another team. I love that running game. Their linemen just like to eat people up. That's gonna be just a fun. Just a game to watch and watch them beat black and blue.
And it's 2 great coaching staffs. And Grafton played a real tough schedule this year.
They did.
Playing Shepherd Hill, playing Shrewsbury. So again, they played up, they played big teams, and they did it for this reason. Chris McMahon's scheduling these teams so when we get into the playoffs, we're not in awe of a Neshoba team. We're not in awe of a Marlboro team because we've played up and we played the Shepherd Hills and we played the Shrewsburys, so they've been battle tested. And so I think that makes a big difference too, psychologically, if nothing else. It makes a big difference for
Midwatch A is probably one of the toughest leagues you're going to find statewide this year. And I think for him to go and find 2 teams non-schedule, like you said, he could have found the cupcakes and found, taking a break and played a team he knows to get like 1 or 2 wins this year.
Right.
He went out and found, because like exactly what you just said, I wish more coaches did that. I don't care if you go in 7-0, 8-0, and end up getting thumped in the first round because you loaded up your schedule.
Right.
But I think if you play a tough schedule, I'd rather see you go in. Grafton's going to go in probably 6-2, maybe 5-3 if they're unlucky.
Yep.
That's still they're one of the toughest teams in that record that you're going to see.
Wachusett will tell you differently. They'll say maybe next year we're going to change our schedule.
Hey,
just so we get in.
That's what I'm hoping doesn't happen. I'm hoping teams don't see this and say, well, geez, Wachusett, they're playing the Midwatch A, which is a tough schedule to begin with, and they go out and they find some tough non-league games, and they're getting essentially punished for it.
Right.
But in fact, if they beat Shepherd Hill, if they beat Neshoba, they beat or those teams like that, they would have locked up a spot.
Right. One of those wins, and they're in. You mentioned in Division IV, the big wild card here is the Westboro-Wachusett game. If Westboro can pull off the upset, And Westboro has been so close this year to a couple big wins.
They're right
but they've
there.
been in every game.
They're right
That's
there.
the thing about this Westboro team. They've been in every game. So you're talking about 1 or 2 bounces of the football, special teams play, a turnover, you know, and this game could easily go Westboro's way, and they could leapfrog Groton Dunstable and get into that 4th and final playoff
I said
spot.
a couple weeks ago, Westboro is no longer that automatic buy on the schedule now. Dave Tivanoff has done a great job with that team. The kids are buying in. They're getting numbers there. They're getting lights. You know, it's things they're looking up for that program. And as an Algonquin guy, that's tough for me to say.
I know.
So I mean, I think, you know, I like they're doing a lot of good things over there. And like you said, they're not one of the elite teams yet, but you can see they're playing every team tough. Even a loss is not one of those 4 or 5 touchdown losses get the JVs in the second half. They're playing right to the final whistle.
Well, and that's it. The kids go in now expecting to win.
Huge.
And that's a much different mentality. When you expect to win versus, I hope we can keep it close for a half, much different. Moving on, Division 5. Nipmuc, Northbridge, Oakmont, and Auburn are the 4 that are in right now. North is the team on the outside looking in, but it looks to me like things would not change. North has BMR. BMR,
and that's a bigger
really
point game. That's a 25-point game if they
so
win
if North
that.
can win that game and Millbury can beat Auburn, that's what would need to happen in this one. Millbury.
Dufour knows more than I do about
Auburn's
that
on their 3rd or 4th QB, so this is a team in Auburn that's beat up, they're banged up. They're going to lean on their defense, and that's who they've been leaning on the last couple of weeks. It's been the defense of Auburn setting the tone, keeping them in the game, score once or twice, and try to win the game. And that's what it was against Northbridge.
That Northbridge win was what?
Scoreless through regulation. They beat them in overtime 8-0.
On a hustle play to sort of keep that game alive, and they end up grounding out, keep that defense. And Northbridge has their own injury problems to begin with, but they kept that a dangerous offense. I don't care who you have. You know, the 5th quarterback at Northbridge is still dangerous as hell on offense.
Moving on to Division 6 here, we got Littleton, who has not been challenged since week 1 of the regular season. That was West Boylston. They won in overtime or double overtime. St. Peter Marion, they've won 3 in a row after losing to Concord, Carlisle, and Doherty. BMR is the 3rd team. Maynard is the 4th team. Maynard's at Clinton. Now, Millbury and Auburn, Millbury is the outside team looking in. So we talked about that. Maynard's going to be a heavy favorite over Clinton. So it would take Clinton to upset Maynard, right? And then Millbury would have to beat Auburn.
Yeah, Millbury would get like 24 points, I think, for beating Auburn. And Clinton win gives them like 19. So they have that 5-point cushion, and like you said, you're hoping for help from other schools. So that's where the math gets murky, because you can get that win, but you don't get the help you need from other sources. Then you sort of fall by a couple percentage points.
The interesting thing in Division 6 is these teams, with the exception of Littleton and Maynard, the teams don't play each other.
No.
So there's no they don't play each other. So when you get into the playoffs, with the exception of Littleton Maynard,
Littleton Maynard would be the only rematch.
If the playoffs started today, it would be Littleton Maynard in the first round, and you'd have St. Peter's and Blackstone Millville.
I like the fact that BMR is in the playoff.
That's what's interesting here, is that you have teams that
are team that's
completely different schedules almost.
Completely different schedule,
SPM plays a completely different schedule than Littleton and Maynard, and BMR plays a completely different schedule. So that part of it can bring out the interesting aspect, because you say, okay, you don't have a lot of common opponents. You didn't play each other. These aren't rematch games. And
a lot of people watching Huddle in the next couple weeks.
Yes, you're right about that. Division 7, Blackstone Valley Tech, Archie's Crew's number 1, Leicester's number 2. They've won 3 in a row. West Boylston dinged up but still winning. They're 3rd. Assabet is the 4th team. Oxford at 7-0.
Here we go.
Is on the outside looking in by just such a slim, less than 10 percentage points?
Tenth of a percentage point.
A tenth of a percentage point. Oxford has Leicester this week. Assabet has Monty Tech. Is it Oxford has to win, Assabet has to lose, right?
I think that's what it comes down to. Oxford has to beat Leicester, and Assabet has to lose to Monty Tech. I think even I'm not even sure if Assabet wins. I don't know if that, because they'll get a lot of points. They'll get Leicester's 5-2.
Right.
So that's over 20 points they're going to get for that win. So I don't know if that's going to propel them over. It should propel them over Assabet even with a win, because I think with Monty Tech's winless.
Yeah.
So they still might have a chance. So, but Oxford needs to go in and win. Biggest game they've played in probably about 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? And good for Oxford. Oxford,
huge.
I love the fact that Oxford. I mean, their program's back on the feet.
Right.
I mean, even if they lose, they go to play consolation games. They're gonna finish with 8 or 9 wins, maybe even 10 wins this year.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Because that program has been down for a while. Coaching, revolving door at the coaching staff. Clarkson comes in and does a great job banging the drum, getting the team out, getting the Pop Warner programs to contribute to that program. And look, they're not. I don't know if anybody expects them to be in the playoffs, because that schedule they got, they have 8. They get the teams they beat have 8 wins. So it is what it is. It wasn't a schedule that you made to get into the playoffs. It was scheduled to get that program back on its feet, and that's what it did. So I mean, as much as you want a feel-good story for Assabet, for Oxford rather.
Yep.
Their program is in better shape now than it has been in years.
So much better, so much better. 30 seconds now to go through
here we go.
Division 8.
Once again.
St. Bernard's, Narragansett, Neshoba Valley Tech, Lunenburg are the top 4 teams that are in right now. Bartlett is on the outside
really
looking
close.
out. Bartlett has Tantasqua. Lunenburg has Littleton. And they are, what, 3/100ths of a percentage point is the difference between Lunenburg and Bartlett. Again, control what you can control, right? And that's what you tell both teams. Bartlett, you got to win.
Lunenburg's going to send you your rant about resting your players to Littleton. I think that's what it's going down to. This guy has good advice.
They're going to hope that Littleton rests their players. Littleton is tough. They
Flat
are
the tires on the bus.
Unbelievable. All right, final week of the regular season. He's
Almost
Jim Wilson. I'm Kevin Shea. We will see you next week. We'll be talking playoffs, and we'll have all the scenarios in the matchup. Thanks for watching. Plenty more of the Frenzy Extra coming up right after this.
Coming up this week on the Friday Night Football Frenzy, 2 of the top teams in UMass collide as Neshoba visits Shrewsbury. It's a Route 122 rumble as Grafton takes on Northbridge. Oxford faces its toughest test of the year. The Pirates visit Leicester. And a Swiggle showdown as the Auburn Rockets visit the Millbury Woolies. The Frenzy on Charter TV 3. The Frenzy is presented by Bay State Savings Bank, the law offices of Joseph J. Cariglia, Worcester State University, and Unibank. Welcome back to the college ranks now. The Worcester State Lancers got a big win over UMass Dartmouth. You saw the game right here on Charter TV 3. And for the Lancers, now 3 games remain. Another one at home coming up this week. There is now momentum on their side as they try to finish strong in the MASCAC.
Definitely got some momentum after this game. You know, it was a fight all the way through, every quarter, every play. You know, even when the little things happened, you know, that was a big part of the game. You know, field goals, extra point, you know, whatever it is. But we fought as a team. Definitely played good on both sides of the ball, and we kept fighting and we got it done. We stuck together. You know, we were all huffing and puffing, and tired and everything. But you know, the defense stuck together. We played fast, we played strong, and definitely during that last drive, you know, we showed what we got. We emptied the tank in the last quarter, and I'm glad we got it.
I really felt awesome. I loved how our offense was really clicking. You know, our O-line was ready to go today. Everybody was catching everything. It was really awesome, you know. Great experience. Our preparation this week and last week was awesome, you know. We really scouted UMass Dartmouth very well, and our coaches are doing a great job with us right now.
Yeah, I already let the boys know and told them, you know, this is a good win. Enjoy the win, you know, enjoy the day. But come Monday, and we got to get going. We got to get prepared for the next couple of weeks because those are big weeks too. So I'm ready. Well, we're ready.
All right, here at Holy Cross, the Crusaders taking on Georgetown this week. The game, you would think, doesn't really mean a heck of a lot. The Crusaders pretty much on the outside looking in the Patriot League after a loss to Colgate here last week. So what does Holy Cross have to play for? Coach Rock and his team looking for wins, looking for some momentum, looking for some positives here in the final 3 weeks.
We want to win a football game. The seniors being their last game at Fitton is an added incentive, and I know that they'll be tuned up and ready to go, and I would certainly like to think that the rest of our team would follow suit.
And you can see Holy Cross and Georgetown live on Charter TV 3. Our coverage begins at 1 o'clock from here at Fitton Field. All right, to the Frenzy Alumni Dean's List now. We saw Brandon Miller, and he had a big game for UMass Dartmouth and a loss to Worcester State. 16 tackles, including 1.5 tackles for a loss against the Lancers. Mike Quinn was hurt for part of that game, the former Northbridge star playing at Worcester State. He had 10 tackles, though, against UMass Dartmouth. Danny George out of Leicester playing at Anna Maria, 9 tackles and a tackle for a loss in an AMCAT win over Alfred State. Jake Gelb out of Shepherd Hill playing at Salve Regina, 156 rushing yards and a couple of touchdowns against Endicott. Brett Sherman marching to the sea, playing for Endicott, came out of Algonquin, 4 receptions and 70 yards receiving against Salve Regina. Ray Sarkadaya out of St. Peter Marion, playing at Assumption, 6 tackles and a sack in a win over New Haven. Nick Ostrowski out of Shepherd Hill, playing at WPI, 9 tackles and a pick in a win over Merchant Marine. How about Cole McCoubry playing at D1 UMass, the West Boylston guy, 2 solo tackles in a win over Georgia Southern. And then Drew Jean-Guillaume, enchanté, out of Shepherd Hill, playing at Central Connecticut, 126 rushing yards and a touchdown against Bryant. He was the NEC's most outstanding offensive player of the week. See you on the Frenzy on Friday night, 10:25, and then back here on The Extra next week. Have a great night.